4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome to our second and final review of the week. Up this time is A Kiss for the Petals, Maidens of Michael. Right, so if this is your first go-around with, or rather if you missed our interview on Wednesday or our previous review of the evening, this game is in a weird situation right now.
Yeah, it is currently delisted or hidden on Steam, so if you bought it while it was available, or if you, like us, got download codes for it, you can still play it. But it currently has no visible shop page.
Yeah, and I think my time invested in the game vanished as well.
Mm.
It was weird because, apparently I haven't played it at all this past week.
Mine's saying you've played, how long I've played. I don't know if that might just be a bug on Steam.
I'm talking publicly.
Yeah, if you started before it was delisted, then all of the time you put in before it was delisted is no longer accounted for.
Yeah, like I said, the best we know about the game is apparently it's been banned. And the situation hasn't really changed from Wednesday. I mean, they finally put out a public statement yesterday, I think, on Twitter. It's a pretty generic. We know the problem exists, and they are working to resolving it. The thing of it is, we do not know when it's going to happen. They don't know when it's going to happen. I'm sure.
In the meantime, the game is still freely available from the Manga Gamer website.
Well, I hesitate to use the word freely available since this isn't a free thing.
The game is still downloadable and purchasable and downloadable directly from the Manga Gamer website. You don't have to go through Steam.
Right, and that's probably the best way to go about this because it's another one of the censored games.
There's an adult patch you can get on their site to apply to the Steam version if you have it, but if you get it on their site, you can just get that version.
Yeah, and it's the same price. It's the same price, Steam or not Steam. And you can also, get this version right now. So by default, this is kind of the the Manga Gamer version is the one we have to point to because.
And the way that the censorship works in this game is that basically the actual sex scenes, as soon as they cut to those, are just cut out. And if you have a save point, if you have the patch installed, and you can still turn off adult content, but if you do, you cannot load files that are saved in the middle of an H scene. So it's a pretty thorough thing, although it may just be gating. So I don't know, maybe Steam noticed if the files are still there or something. I honestly have no idea.
Yeah. Or it could have just been somebody being a dick and reporting it on, frivolous grounds.
Yeah, the patch seemed to be pretty small. So, but I think these are all high school students at least, so.
Yeah, but that's not too different from other visual novels. This isn't even the A Kiss for the Petals game on Steam.
Yeah, there is another one that's still fine, apparently.
Yeah, and that one is actually the precursor to this, because if you want an overview on the whole franchise, go listen to our interview. We go in depth on it. But this was kind of the first professional release by the group, St. Michael's. or Yurin, however you want to define them.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of in an awkward position because it's also kind of a grand culmination of the franchise, as in this showcases all of the couples that have been featured in previous games, as well as introducing this new couple.
Yeah, the first when you start playing this game, you play a new couple that has not been in the series before, and you go through their romance and stuff. But you run into these like 4 or 5 other couples from 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8. It looks like.
Yeah.
In the series, so
yeah, they show up and. I'll be honest, it was kind of hard to have an emotional investment in all these other couples because, their stories had literally kind of already been told. And they're still ongoing, but...
And after you play through this game once, you do get, like, further stories with them.
Right. Like, their stories are still going in this game. It's part of it, but the focus is on the new couple.
Yeah, it would definitely be probably better to play this game after having played the other ones in the series, but most of those aren't available in English, so...
Like, yeah, I recommend that since, those games are not only not available in English, they are Dojin works, so you kind of have to look for them.
So if you can read Japanese and have a way of getting them, it's recommended to... No.
But that's a hard recommendation. It's like
it was mostly a joke.
Yeah,
since that's a very small portion of the audience.
Yeah. Basically, the manga gamer took the best track that they could, was grab the prequel game, introduce that couple, and then position this as basically the sequel to that, even though that previous game had come out later. I guess that's the neat thing you can do with prequels. You can actually put them at the beginning, so to speak. But yeah, and so this is also a pretty huge game.
Yeah, it's like I said, like we said, there's 5 stories or 6 stories, so and they're each a decent length.
Yeah, it's like I'm about 3/4 of the way through before I lost interest because. So here's the thing about the Kiss for the Petals franchise. If you want to learn about the Yuri genre, or rather Yuri genre tropes, this is a good introduction because, yeah, this is tropey as fuck. Like.
Yeah, at the beginning of the game, you're kind of introduced to the other couples from the previous ones, and it's like, and these couple are like this thing that you've probably read a Yuri story with characters like that before.
Yeah, it's definitely exemplifying the Yuri tropes that existed about 10 years ago, maybe a little more than that. Like, honestly, it kind of feels a bit dated in today's world. But that's more the Yuri genre finally moving on past fucking high school and fucking Catholic school. That's one of the reasons why I got bored with this. Holy shit, I am sick and tired of this fucking setting. Just, Yuri title after Yuri title. Oh, hi, it's in high school, and oh, look, they're Catholic girls. Seriously. It's a thing that goes way back to the beginning of the genre, or the proto-form of the genre. But once again, that's one of those things that's outside the scope of the review. So there are videos on YouTube that can explain the whole building up of the Yuri genre and all that stuff. But, I can, it's also, it is a title that has got past the death portions. Like, yeah,
So it's allowed to have good endings?
Yeah, well, obviously, because all the couples are still fucking alive and fucking.
It's a lighthearted story too.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of a trait of not just the Yuri genre, but gay media in general. Like if you had a gay character, not even too long ago, their options were either they split up or they die. Usually the death thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because
Well, this is a long tradition going all the way back to the depiction of, say, Mephistopheles in Paradise Lost.
right.
Like, it's not actually okay to sympathize with the devil, so we'll just make him a sympathetic and like almost partially viewpoint character, but then at the end he gets a bad ending.
Right, and
I think there's some Shakespeare that does that too.
I'm like, indeed, and in terms of society, it's also intertwined with, outside the norm. So if it's the tacit message that if you are gay, this is your fate in life. Ultra changed in the Yuri genre because apparently, like, the first recorded instance of a female same-sex couple comes from a double suicide.
Well, the thing is, in Japan, it's kind of okay, but usually even, I mean, part of the reason why it's set in high school is because that's when it's okay.
That's
it's usually still
okay, that's actually getting into a different branch of things. That's getting into the Class S relationships, which is a cousin to the genre, but isn't actually Yuri.
It's still you still usually see it like, okay, it's just a phase.
Yes, I know. I know. I'm getting to that, but that is one of the central tenets of Class S. It's like there are very close relationships that are very deep, emotional, but are also considered to be training wheels for quote unquote real relationships with men when you get out of high school. I'm like, but like I said, that's actually considered to be its own genre. But yeah, there is a lot of intersecting between the two. The difference is, well, Yuri took the moves forward, and was able to shake off some of the, gay characters could have relationships, could have happy endings, that kind of thing. And that's where this game is. All the characters here are in same-sex relationships, and nobody fucking cares.
It is an all-girls school, so I'm sure that's part of it. But yeah.
Yeah, but it's like everybody knows. They're actually dating. Like there are many, many same-sex couples here. It's not just one or anything like that. Like, mind you, this game crosses the line with one of them, as we have a fucking teacher-student relationship.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I can never approve of these because, it's a teacher, and we're talking about a high school student. Like,
there's also a set of cousins, but that's okay in Japan and actually legal in most of the U.S.
I'm like, cousin relationships only seem icky to us because we have very high taboos towards incest of any kind. This gets into the what we see as incest versus what really a lot of Asia sees as incest. Here's the thing, like, even first cousins generally not considered to be incest, like, so doesn't set off. That's why a lot of incest relationships in fucking anime and manga and all this shit tend to go for the cousins. Like even fucking Sword Art Online. Substitute the brother for cousins thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are many anime titles that just went on full on like brother or step siblings or whatever. But once again, we're getting outside of the scope of what we're actually reviewing here. But to tie it all together, I'm like, personally, I was just kind of bored with all of the tropes here because I've seen them a lot. Like, the relationship played out like other, not just Yuri relationships, but like other manga and anime relationships. There's a lot of fucking tsundere behavior here. I mean,
it's not like I like girls or anything, Baka.
Well, it's more like it's not like Risa likes Mia or anything like that. And that goes on. That's seriously what goes on here. And they have the soon and the dere portions, the hot cold. It's like and obviously you can it follows the progression, sorting out feelings, getting together, that what have you. All in all, as a genre work, it's fairly typical. It's just you will get a lot of it, and production values are pretty typical Japanese visual novel stuff. Bit on the higher end because there's a lot of voice work. Like that's
all of the actual spoken lines are voiced, and it has the usual star type of visual novel system where you can change settings or at least mute each character's voice separately. So if there's someone whose voice really annoys you, you can turn that off. Or if you don't generally like really chirpy Japanese girl voices, you can turn all of them off. Because most of them are variations of that.
I'm like, and it's very, it's very pink. Like, not just in,
the uniform color helps, but also like there's a lot of pink hair.
I'm like, that's kind of connected to the petals, the rose petals, or the cherry blossom petal, the flower petals. I know it's that. That's kind of, that's kind of in the title, A Kiss for the Petals, mainly rose petals, which is the second biggest flower representation of lesbianism in Japan. The first is lilies.
Of course.
Roses also sometimes represent dudes.
Right, but lilies, specifically white lilies, is
right.
I mean, it's in the actual name. Yuri translates into tribe of the lilies. So, of course, lilies became a obvious symbol for lesbians. Anyway, getting back to the game itself, let's see. There weren't any elaborate CG cutscenes like the fully animated stuff in the other visual novels we covered, but there are CG stills, and of course there's the adult stuff in the uncensored version. Though I suppose one of the biggest giveaways of the age of this game is the aspect ratio. Like, hi, 4:3.
Yeah, if you
Indeed.
if you full screen it, it might look a little weird, or you might have bars. I recommend playing it windowed.
And I'll also note this game came out in like 2012, so clearly, visual novels hadn't caught up to widescreen monitors even at that point. Mind you, like today, yeah, sure. Like we've covered tons of game visual novels that have either been like modified for widescreen or are widescreen visual novels. Like, this one isn't. Price. So this is going to be one of the biggest determining factors because this is an expensive one. Like not. Among the most expensive we've ever covered in terms of visual novels. It's clocking in at $35. Like,
so the question is, do you think that's worth it? Considering the consideration for this is that, especially compared to the other entries in this series, this is a lot of stories, and I guess part of the thing probably went to the fact that you have like 12 plus voiced characters, which I don't think the other ones had that much.
Yeah, it's carrying its price tag in its bulk because the other visual novel that's on the other Kiss for the Petals title that's on Steam is only like $7.99. that focuses on a single couple. I'd imagine if we saw more of these on, more of the single stories, they'd be priced around that as well.
Yeah, most likely.
This is kind of like I said, this is kind of a Super Smash Brothers of A Kiss for the Petals series, if that makes any sense. It's all the couples gathering together. So that's why it's so massive and expensive, because there's a lot of voice talent here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a visual novel that is going to take tens of hours, especially if you want to get everything. So, as far as a recommendation, it's not so much the price in and of itself that's the issue. It's do you want to jump in? And I think an answer for that is go and buy the prequel game first. It's only $8. It's not going to break any banks. And if you enjoy the setting, enjoy the characters, then I think you will know much more concisely if this is a game for you.
That, and also maybe looking up a wiki on the other games might be helpful. I'm pretty sure there's one out there.
Indeed.
Yeah, I think it depends on how much you like Yuri and if you're interested in a lighthearted story or romantic story.
Yeah. Personally, as I've explained, this wasn't my particular cup of tea, but I'm rather sure that it will be a hit with other people who like the more conventional Yuri tropes, or who have invested in the series in some regard. As a first entry, yeah, I can't recommend it. I'd say go and play the prequel game, then go and make the jump from there. Simply because this is asking quite a bit for an investment. Any final thoughts on Kiss for the Petals here?
Not that I can think of.
Decent production values. That said, it's a big investment. So.
Yeah, it was a cute story and game. Yeah, it was all right. Like I said, if you really like Yuri, then you might be interested in this.
It's I don't dislike the genre. It's just
it's not super groundbreaking in any way.
It's
not.
Yeah, it's like the last visual novel we reviewed. It was fairly atypical. It wasn't bad, but it's if you've indulged in this, you're gonna feel a lot of familiarity.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that'll about do it for the review session. The week ahead. So we only have one interview this week, and that is on Wednesday. We'll be having Dimitri from Bandai Namco Entertainment back again at a new time. We will be starting the proceedings at 7 o'clock as opposed to our usual start time of 9:30 because Dimitri has a train to catch, and him doing an interview at that was problematic. In fact, he almost bailed out of the previous interview due to that. But, we got, Dimitri is a person that we will make time adjustments for. And we will be talking primarily about Ni no Kuni 2, which I believe is releasing this week.
Woo!
I'll admit I'm kind of in the dark with this because I never played the first one. Then again, I'm not sure how much in the way of connections the first one has to the second one. This is a JRPG franchise, after all. The game being completely different, other than the name and some common elements, is not unheard of. In fact, it's very heard of.
I mean, Final Fantasy.
this game will be out next week, Friday.
That's what I thought. Like, anyway, I'm looking forward to it. Always a good time when Dimitri shows up. As far as next Sunday's reviews, currently scheduled, we have Fear Effect Sedna and Past Cure. Like, more on those next week. And until Wednesday, I wish you good gaming.